the 2024 BMW X1 xDrive28i in Blue Bay Lagoon. This is an upgraded color. This is all new this year. We have increased in power. The B48 also has a more tuned engine. That would be for the M35i. This is almost at the base price of that. So is it better to option this fully loaded or to go up the tier so you get the performance? I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rods, and I'm going to go over the pros and cons. The problem that I have with the new X1 and some of the competition. I like the new front fascia. I think they did a great job because all of the X SAVs that BMW calls it, I know it's an SUV, but they try to say it's a sports active vehicle instead of a sports utility vehicle. I think they made it a little bit more broad, more dynamic looking, and yet keeping the luxury to BMW. Starting with the active kidney grille shutter, you're going to get the satin aluminum that's going to wrap around all of it. Gloss black elements are going to be in the interior that brushes into the standard LED headlights and daytime runnings. And the lower carries on with the satin aluminum with the boomerang for the side air pocket, front and rear parking sensors. We have the 360-degree reverse camera because this has the convenience package, which I'll be talking about throughout the review. It adds quite a few packages to this, but then it's over $4,000. So it is something to take in consideration, and the paint itself is over $1,000. 8.1 inches of clearance is standard across the board for all trims, and underneath the hood is gonna house the same B48, which is a 2.0 liter BMW twin power turbocharged. And that's producing 241 horsepower with 295 pound-feet of torque paired to a 7-speed DCT automatic transmission, achieving 25 mpgs for the city, 34 mpgs for the highway, standard all-wheel drive, so that is a nice feature that is coming for the X1, reaching 60 at 6.2 seconds at top speed at 130 to 149 miles per hour. Taking me to the first problem that I have with this vehicle. This is the same exact specs as the Mini Countryman. And when you're thinking that vehicle starts under $40,000, you're gonna see a savings. I know it's not a BMW, but it's the same exact vehicle. Upgraded 19-inch wheels. This is going to set you back a few $100s, so I would actually tick the box for it because it makes you look a lot more sporty. The gloss black will run around the fenders and around the lower trim with the satin aluminum yet again coming into play. I think it looks dynamic with this color palette. So for me, it's hard to say I wouldn't tick the box for some of these features, but there is a few that you can let go. And now going against competition like the Volvo XC40, that's going to be a little bit more of a box look. This is going to look a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more wide and long because it is longer than the prior gen, also wider than the prior gen. So that is something that's welcome because when you're thinking about a smaller SUV, typically you can't even fit in the back. Then you don't even have cargo capacity, towing capacity. You don't have anything. It's just a vehicle that could get you to point A to point B that's sitting up instead of using a sedan, which for me defeats the purpose of an SUV. Going against Audi, it's going to be a little bit faster, but this is going to be a little bit more money than them, as well as going against Mercedes-Benz. When you're putting all these vehicles into content, unless you're going into the M Sport variant, which is going to tick the horsepower up to 312 horsepower, there's really not a lot of point in the dynamics in this. This is more or less to get your feet wet. It goes pretty quick on a 0 to 60. But dynamically speaking, 56.7, 43.3, it's not going to be a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. You're not expecting that. You're expecting kind of a playful vehicle. And when you're at these prices, I hate to say it, you may want to even look at some of the sedans because you are touching base near an M340i without any features at all. You tick the box for a few, it's going to be more towards the 55 grand. The rear is going to be standard with LED taillights, and the lower is going to keep the aggressive look without the exhaust outlets with a lower roof spoiler, so it's going to look a little bit more sleek, but it's still keeping a boxy look. I like what they've done with the new X1, but the problem that I have is they're sharing everything with the Mini Cooper. And when I'm looking at pricing, why would I spend 50 grand to load this up when the Mini Cooper starts under $40,000? You load that up, it's still going to be a savings if you're looking to tick the box for every feature. Now, if you go into the M35i, that's a different ball game because you're going to have a little bit more horsepower, but then the weight distribution is not going to be much better. It's still a vehicle that's playful, and the 0 to 60 drops into the 5-second margin, but it's not something that's going to be as fast as some of the sedans of BMW. So even if you tick the box for the X2, the only difference you're going to have is that coupe styling for the rear, which again, it looks awesome, but it's more of that everyday SUV driving vehicle. Standard power liftgate going into 25.7 cubic feet of storage. You'll have a storage with a net and a little storage nook with a 12-volt charger, LED interior lights underneath the floor, gets a spare tire. But to split fold the rear bench, you will still have to go inside to get the 46.9 cubic feet of storage. You'll pull the levers here. It's going to drop down at a 40-20-40 split to maximize the cargo capacity. Eight-way power seat adjustment for the front, sports seats, these are an upgrade, heated seats as part of the convenience package, manual cushion extensions, memory for the driver. The X1 is a little box, but inside it has a ton of room, especially for the front occupants. It is a driver-focused setup, a 10.7 center infotainment screen, so you're not going to have the big 14.9. This does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming, Bluetooth audio, xDrive28i. Put it into reverse. Because we have the convenience package, you have a 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory for the front and the rear. When you click onto the more, you have the 3D view, which you can just simply push on all the icons here. And you also have the car wash, which will show the trajectory for the front because we also have the upgraded wheels. Wireless charging pad is also part of that premium package. We have the upgraded heated seats and heated steering wheel. The convenience package also adds the auto-dimming rear view mirror, the interior camera, the long panel moonroof with the heads-up display, upgraded Harman Kardon sound system, and BMW's digital key. On the gauge cluster, 10.25 informational display that can go through an array of content for the driver, and you can also change the whole design layout to make it a little bit more sporty or to make it a little bit more open. And the same thing with the heads-up display, standard, assist view, sport view, USB ports, and an area here that is more or less opened up like a pass-through, the key fob for the new X1. These are touch sensitive, so when you push My Mode, you'll have your driving mode select and you can engage in different experiences as well. The rocker to put it into gear, push here, and it's going to be a little bit smaller. I would say maybe you can fit a remote control because a small cell phone will not fit. But optimizing the pass-through does help. It does make it a little bit tough for the passenger because there is a little stop right there. The steering wheel is 3-spoke. I like the new design to it because it's a lot more sporty than the prior. Dashboard and door panel configure in together, and it's going to be soft to touch more or less everywhere. One touch up and down for the windows with a long storage pocket. A storage net behind both of the front seats. 2 air vents with USB ports and kind of a little storage compartment, cup holders with an armrest, and the door is going to have more or less the same segment, except the top is going to be stripped of the Sensitech. It's going to be soft to touch where it needs to be, with a long storage pocket and a beverage holder carved out. Sliding into the center, the floor is not completely flat. You will be sharing some feet space, but surprisingly, because of the width of this vehicle, they do a pretty good job carving out space. And the same thing for headroom. It actually works for somebody at 6'3" my dimensions. The B48 with 241 horsepower, which is 71 horsepower less than the M35i. You are receiving a 0 to 60 at 6.2. Let's see how she does. And this is the fun part. Does have some body roll. It feels top heavy even though it isn't. The front picks up quite a bit. You don't hear any of the exhaust filtering in. Confidence, you'll have some, don't get me wrong. It's just not quite as airtight or polished as BMW typically is. So it's gonna be fun, especially when you're doing a straight line like this. just there's a lot of body roll, which is to be expected because of the weight distribution and the length of the vehicle, curb weight. If you don't usually drive M Sport vehicles, now I get it, this is not an M Sport at all, you're going to be satisfied because it's going to tick the box. You're going to have a lot more enjoyment than you would normally on just like a regular vehicle that is an SUV, kind of like a Volvo XC40, or even going into Audi. Audi's going to be a little bit dynamic, but they're both going to be not so nimble whenever you're taking bends on the road. It's still playful, but I feel if you're trying to capture a lot of the performance, you have to go into the M35 variant in order to get it. 71 horsepower more than this is night and day difference, and it drops to 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. As for the packages that we have, it's hard to say I would not add the convenience package because you're getting the wireless charger, you're getting the 360-degree reverse camera, upgraded sound system, BMW digital key, but maybe I would sacrifice and not do the heated seats, heated steering wheel, the sports seats, the soft tech for the Sensitech for the dashboard, even the upgraded wheels. I mean, if I'm going to go convenience, I think I would cut corners there to get the savings, because once you get up to a near $50,000 price, there's not a lot that puts me into the X25i. As for the everyday drive with these upgraded tires, it's going to be a little bit more rigid, so the suspension's a little bit more stiff and sporty. That is also something that BMW is known for, but you will appreciate that on some of the bends because you can actually take a little bit more here than you would on like a luxury vehicle like Volvo, Lincoln, or Cadillac. Maneuverability is fine. It doesn't actually feel that wide, and you do feel like you sit up quite high. Turn radius at more or less a stop point is going to receive about 2 lanes. Let's rock and roll. The xDrive28i is a great vehicle if you are looking to get into the brand, get some luxury with a little bit of performance. There is a little bit of lag out of the B48 engine, and some of the lag does get taken away when you go into the M35i. Not trying to push everybody to that variant, but when you're looking at a price that's already at $50,000, I don't see the reason why you would pick the xDrive28i, because you're going to have more performance there, and you're going to have a few extra features. You'll get the sports seats, you'll get the upgraded tires, so just with those savings alone, you're talking maybe a $4,000 or $5,000 difference from this with a few features to a base M35i. Going against comparable rivals, it sits at a good spot because it is a little bit longer and wider. In the interior, they give you a lot more amenities, especially when you take the box for the convenience package. And it's a more fun vehicle too, because BMW is just known to have that playful drive to it. Then the problem that comes into play, this is basically the same thing as a Mini Countryman. And I'm not wanting that. I'm wanting a BMW. Now, most buyers may not know that, and then they buy it later on finding that out. I think that's going to illustrate a little bit of a concern, because why would you up to this trim level? At that point, they should have just canned one of the two and put them as one trim and gave 3 different variants instead of having 2 different variants for both trim levels. Because even if you go into a JCW, it's the same thing as the M35i. Yet again, you're getting a savings when you go into the Mini Cooper side. I like that they have implemented the smaller screens because it isn't over the top and in your face. And even if you do option these sports seats, they're more than comfortable because they hold you well. Plus you have the manual cushion extensions, so it helps, especially for tall people. It would have been nice to see a true M variant here, but then what's the point of going into the X3 or X4? I also like that you can have the coupe style or the traditional box SUV. Plenty of room in the interior, so really, should you option up the vehicle like this, or go into the M35i. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank BMW of Wesley Chapel for giving us this 2024 BMW X1 for our car review.